FIFA and EA dispute. New report reckons FIFA want more than double from EA to renew the license. Over $1 billion for each 4-year World Cup cycle. Big money. FIFA has also said gaming must evolve more than one party controlling and exploiting all the rights. So I had a little look at this because this was sort of bubbling last week, but we don't talk about FIFA that often, even though probably more than half of the Dimp lot actually play it every year. Yeah, so true. That definitely is a bit of a blind spot. We don't really chat about it too much. But I had a little look at it because initially when I first started seeing the rumblings of this, I was like, oh my goodness, if they lose the rights to FIFA, and they want to go out on their own, EA are playing a dangerous game. Now, my thoughts are somewhat nullified on that now because this is actually a squabble about the name of the game, calling it FIFA 2023 or whatever it might be, not the licensing use of the players, of the teams, of the leagues. So that's a separate license.
So that will still continue.
Yes. So they've renewed that. That's carrying on. That's with I think it's called Fifth Pro or something license, which gives them access to all that stuff. So not as big a deal because that's for me was you can't be getting rid of that. But to be honest, it makes the conversation a little bit more interesting because that was quite cut and dry. It was like without the license for the players' names and leagues, it's a far weaker product. This is now purely is the FIFA name just being stamped on the front of it worth it, or could EA potentially go off on their own, change the name, save $1 billion over 4 years, and still be happy and get the same sort of level of sales in? Now they've filed for EA Sports FC, which is obviously EA Sports Football Club. That is an awful name, if I'm honest. Of all the names they've come up with, that's a pretty poor one in my opinion.
E-football's better than that.
E-football, at least it's got the fucking sport in it. It's a bit of a shocker. So
it sounds like an ultimate team name.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like
your default team.
Yeah, it does. It honestly does. I don't know if that's a necessarily good thing. The question really about this is though, knowing that we're going to keep the licenses and all that good stuff, would the name change? It not being called FIFA, have any impact on sales or even like its standing within the gaming community? Because whether people like it or not, especially now, it's number one for the football games, and it has been really for about a decade, if we're being quite honest.
Yeah, since 2006, I'd say. That's a real end of Pro Evo.
Yeah. What do you reckon then? Impact on these sales?
I think it would. I think just in terms of fucking kids going in the shop saying, I want the new FIFA, and they'll be like, there ain't no FIFA this year, mate. It's here. And they go, I don't want that that's not a new game. So just, I'm sure there'd be an impact of sales of just to the unknown.
Would it be enough?
I'm sure there. Yeah, would it be enough? I don't know. I suppose, like you say, it's such a
because they'll go to the counter
that...
and go, "Where's FIFA?" And then old game manager will go, "Oh, that doesn't." Sorry, I'll explain it to him. Yeah, this is it, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay then." Like,
so yeah, I mean, it would be such huge news that everyone would know about it. I suppose.
Probably, yeah, that as well.
Probably would, but I suppose it seems weird. Like, I don't know. There's rumours of it going free to play. Like, I bet that's been binned now after eFootball's response.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Like if they're going to do something like this, like the timing of it, like sort of now, is really good because PES is dead. They killed that themselves, Konami. They said we ain't naming it that anymore. Pro Evo gone. We've got this eFootball, a husk of a game, limping around our servers at the moment, trying to get us to download it for free. Like, it's awful. It's one of the worst reviewed games in a long time. Certainly, I think it must be one of the worst reviewed games of the year. So, if you're going to do anything like this now, EA have pretty much got the football pitch, to themselves. They can almost do whatever they want. All you've got to do is just make sure you get that messaging right and say, look, this is the same, team, the same company. It's FIFA as you know it. It's just we're going in a new direction for our name of the game, and then after 2 years, people ain't gonna realise anyway, and they'll probably still call it FIFA.
Yeah, I was going to say, I suppose, yeah, because didn't UFC do a bit something like this? It went from EA Sports UFC
Yeah, so
to
it EA
UFC
Sports MMA, which wasn't
Yeah,
sponsored by the UFC, and it had like I think Strikeforce and bits like that in it, but it obviously wasn't branded. And then you had THQ's UFC games, that all went down the
yeah,
drain. Then EA Sports partnered with UFC and got EA Sports UFC, so they sort of have
yeah.
that brand in there.
Yeah, I think the wrestling games as well. That like SmackDown versus Raw, and it was all just SmackDown, and then funneled into 2K thing. So yeah, I suppose they're big enough and ugly enough that they could do it and get away with it. I think something like Lappa says is right that for fucking $1 billion for 4 years, pocket that money. EA Sports Ultimate Team, that's where your bread and butter is. Get that free to play. Bolt on the fucking career mode at 20 quid a pop. Like you say, I think you're right in that now's the best time of any to do it, but I wouldn't be going for that fucking Football Club FC shit.
No, I can't have a better name than that, and I think you're
name,
away.
yeah.
But I honestly think they'll get away with it. And even if I don't know, even if eFootball paid $1 billion over 4 years just to get the name, I still don't think that would be enough. People would still work out that that's not the same game as what they've been playing for the last decade. Just as a side note, in the fiscal year of 2021, so that's March 2020 to April 2021, games publisher Electronic Arts generated approximately $1.62 billion of revenue from extra content sales for just Ultimate Team. So that's 1 year's worth, and they've paid off that if they wanted to. But if you can save money, then why not? It seems like a bit of a, the flex of the muscles here. They're like, well, we've already registered EA Sports FC. I mean, there might have been a few snickers in the FIFA office when they said that. But I think ultimately, if EA go down this road, they keep all the leagues and all the players and all that stuff. The product's going to be just as people will find it. They'll find their fix. They're not going to suddenly go, oh, I'll give this eFootball a try now, because knowing Konami, it'll still be in a wretched state. So as soon as they play it, they'll be like, good God, no wonder it's free.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
That's my view anyway.